We're like a week late on a conversation I wanted to just forcefully inject ourselves into. You know how we do that from time to time?
Of course.
Yeah, it's one of the things we do best, right? Like other people are having like a really nuanced, great convo, and then we're like, our time.
But have you looked at it this way?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. So, once again, smart people, Piper and Werner, Illinois reporters who do a great job, had a conversation on Werner's pod last Tuesday. And this got sent to us from Illinois fans who were discussing their conversation in our Discord. But basically, the exercise that those two went through on that episode, and again, as always, encourage everyone, go listen to that. I listened to it. The full episode of them going through it is great. Go listen to it. They went through all of Illinois' players for the upcoming season and basically ranked them 1 through 14 on a quote unquote player impact rankings scale. So their intention was to literally just basically put Illinois players in order of how important they are and how much impact they will have on next year's team. You could define impact however you want. Honestly, my interpretation was that these guys defined it a little bit differently from each other. Certainly, you and I could define it completely differently, but there were some surprises along the way as these guys went through their rankings. Not to just reveal the entire list, you should go listen to the full episode for it. But there was disagreement on who the most impactful player on the player impact rankings would be. One of them had Tom Ivisic. One of them had Kylan Boswell. Neither of them had Andrei Stojakovic. Further down the list, both of them had Benham Rickhouse ahead of David Mirkovic and Ty Rogers fifth on both of these lists. The fifth most impactful player on Illinois next year being Ty Rogers, who just redshirted last season. So once again, encourage everyone to listen to the full thing. I think it gives a good example of how there's a lot of different moving pieces of this Illinois team that some got to live up to their expectation and some may not just because there's a lot of moving parts here. We don't know who the stars are going to necessarily be on the Illinois team, but I'd like to get your thoughts on this and maybe go through our own version of this if that's okay. Um, just from what I just said, anything jump out at you as a surprise from how Piper and Werner laid out their expectations for Illinois this year?
I mean, to be honest with you, no. I think if I'm understanding it correctly, they're leaning into the guys that are returning and were productive more to be like the I guess the most important, correct? Instead of the new players.
Yeah, which is my surprise. I mean,
Oh,
my
is that
surprise here is Ty Rogers top five, Rickhouse ahead of Merck would shock me.
it would shock me, but I guess I see the thought process on it. Just like you don't know. I don't know. I feel like these European players can be a little bit hit or miss, right? Like it's some can be good, some can be productive, some could also like be Berke Buchtenfeld, right? It's just you don't really know what it's gonna look like. And I guess maybe it's a little bit going a little bit too far when you look at like the Ty Rogers and the Henrik Houses of the world. But as far as like Big T and and Kylan being up there, I think I feel a little bit, I guess, more secure in betting on those guys over the European kids. Even though, you know, once again, if we're going to talk Illinois, ceiling word has to be used. The ceiling might be a little bit higher for some of these international kids coming over.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Um, Ty fifth would shock me. Like, regardless of how you feel about Rickhouse and just the fact that he's a vet and has been there, I am buying a Ben Rickhouse bounce back. But if Ty's a top five player on this team and none of the fours are, like the way both these guys had it laid out was Big Z and Rickhouse and Mirkovic were all 6, 7, 8 in some form, and Ty was ahead of them. Like that basically would imply they think Ty Rogers will be the power forward on this team. And I would just be stunned by that. Now again, it's a player impact rankings. You could probably overinflate Ty Rogers' defensive impact a little bit here, just a cultural leadership impact. Like, I'm not saying he's not an important element of this, but if none of the guys that are theoretically going to play the four are ahead of Ty Rogers, to me that would mean some bad things happened. I think, you know.
Yeah, also like with Ty Rogers too, it might also never equate. Like it's just, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying there's this overinflation of Ty Rodgers' impact on basketball games. I think in Illini circles, which there is a lot of non-box score things and box score things that I think Ty Rodgers can contribute to, but I just think he gets a little bit of a everyday guy bump, I call it.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago, I think we would have put him fifth. He was a returning starter from a great team. But when you're coming off a year where your coach essentially said you're not good enough to even demand an active roster spot, it's hard
Oh,
to.
he can shoot now.
Well, that's always some of the stuff. But
Yeah, he can shoot
um,
now.
I will say this: I think like from 5 through 8, outside of the top four, which should be pretty consensus in my opinion, and these guys did have a consensus. It was in some form Big T, Kylan, Petrovic, and Stojakovic. Outside of those top four, I think 5 through 8 is not all that different. Like the whoever you put at 8 is not far behind whoever you put at 5, which I like for Illinois. I think that's going to make for a really good tight rotation. Guys get in and out. Everybody plays a big role. Everyone's happy. I think that's going to work. I feel like for me personally, coming off of last year, I wouldn't be overly optimistic on the season as a whole if we have Ty and Humrickhouse higher than some of the guys you added. To me, that would mean like, okay, how good are the guys we added? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, the best version of Illinois would have the additions be more impactful. Like if you're going to where you talk about those guys are the ones that are being impact. If Ty Rodgers is being that impactful, I guess whether right or wrong, that means to me that something went wrong with guys that you need to play better.
yeah, I had a way I bullet pointed it out that I'll share in just a second. But the other thing I want to quickly get to before that, Kylan was number one on one of their lists as the most impactful player on the team. To me, that's out there. Now, I'm not saying Kylan can't be good, but he was a rather large part of why they underwhelmed last year, I thought. I know he turned it around at the end, but to me, you brought in a pass first floor general point guard largely because you don't want Kylan doing that. Um, you're hoping he gives you the same year he did last year, just makes shots. But even if he gives you the same year he gave you last year and makes shots, I'd be pretty stunned if he was like Illinois' best player. And I know we can play like the leadership route or the experience route. He's still like the youngest player in their top seven. Like
Yeah.
Petrovic is
Well,
older than him.
yeah.
Like,
So I was not in the Illinois part of the discourse. So I'd be interested to see what this look. Cause I want to do my like 1 through 5 real quick here. I want to see if it was very similar to yours.
okay,
Um, I would have a Visage one, Big T one.
same.
I would have. I'm between. See, for me, I would have Boswell at 4, which would make Illinois nasty, by the way. Like
We
they'd be really good if Boswell was 4. Like he's super impactful, but he's the fourth most impactful guy. That means your team is nasty. And I'd probably flip it back and forth. You ask me tomorrow, but like 2 and 3 would be either Stojakovic and Petro. I'd probably put Stojakovic second, Petro third, and then put like Boswell fourth, but when I get to the fifth range, I might get to maybe like Rickhouse or one of the other guys.
we have the same top four, and I think you and I are viewing this the same way. The way we lay it out, we think means Illinois would be really good. Like in my head, the path towards good Illinois this year, what they're trying to do is Big T's an all conference player stud. Stojakovic may lead them in scoring, probably also an all conference player. You brought those two guys in to do the scoring. Big T, Andre are going to carry you offensively most nights. I have Petro third because I believe he's going to be a great assist to turnover guy, great leader, great floor general. I have Kylan 4. I think he's going to be a great role player. And I think the biggest gap between how you and I view this has been Kylan. Illinois people are just really high on Kylan still, which is fine. I don't mean to be down on him. But to me, like the path forward for Illinois being really good is Kylan being a role player still and being these new guys you brought in to fill the roles be more of the primary options. Now, again, I think when you listen to their episode, the player rankings, part of Kylan being elevated is what he gives you defensively, what he gives you
Right,
from a
right.
leadership standpoint. I get all of that too. But I guess my concluding point on this, and I'm glad you and I have the same order, is just if it plays out the way their sort of rankings combined for, I had 4 bullet points. These were simultaneous things that held true in both of their rankings card. They had Ty Rodgers as more impactful than Zvonimir Ivisic. They had Kylan Boswell as more impactful than Mihailo Petrovic. Baby, I can see Mihailo. They had Andrei Stojakovic not being a consensus top 2 player on the team. And they had David Mirkovic not even in the top 7. If all 4 of those things are simultaneously true, this team's not going to be good. Like one of those things has to be true. Either Andre's awesome, or Mirk is good and better than Ty, or Zvonimir's good and playing, or Petro's better than Kylan. And if none of those are true, how can we sit here and like be high on Illinois? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the world that we laid out, I think it's, and maybe it's the impact word which is holding things up here. But I think like if Kylan's your fourth most impactful guy while being good impactful too, by the way, that team is disgusting.
Yeah,
Good, like disgustingly good.
right. So, and I think that is the right way to insert. Like you and I's list is basically what we think the best case scenario is. Piper and Werner's list might be more of like what we think reality is. And I just think which path you choose kind of indicates like either better or worse things for Illinois. And that makes
Right.
for an interesting conversation. So
Yeah.
we'll see. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but I thought that was a really fun thought exercise. So shout out to those guys for coming up with a very compelling conversation in the offseason. Also, I'd like to do this for like all the other teams we care
I
about.
was just thinking, are we allowed to like apply this? Because it actually be a pretty fun exercise.
Yeah, like I want to do that for Purdue. I want to do that for Michigan, Michigan State at some point. Yeah.
So I think it'd be different, depending on. I think there'd be some differences.
Yeah, for sure. We should probably check and see if they trademarked the idea of player impact rankings. But if they didn't, then I'm game.
Yeah, I'll DM them.